So thank you for those who are just joining us. We're going to give this a couple of minutes just to let everyone click on the link and select the right stream they want to join. So just while you're joining us, welcome to you all. Hope you're enjoying the conference. We're halfway through day two. I can't believe that we actually got through day two already. But still some really exciting topics to come for the rest of today. And I know within these streams, it's really interesting where you've got the selection of choice between the different streams and different topics. And we know that people are moving between them and enjoying the variety that that brings. So delighted that we've got the people joining that we have today, and delighted that you've taken the time out to come and listen to this this panel discussion. So we said we'll just give people a couple of minutes more to join, and then we'll be able to kick off this discussion. I think what's really interesting is when you look at the technology and the use of technology, it's really interesting to see how it's being used in different ways across procurement. And what we're going to be talking about here is much more focusing about the focus on risk and risk mitigation, and the best way that we could go about using technology to help us all as we're, as it says, going through sort of still going through the pandemic, but also then looking at how we recover from that as we go forward. So welcome to everyone. Delighted that you can join us this afternoon in the UK and to join this discussion. We've got a panelist to talk about the use of technology to aid risk mitigation. I'm delighted that we've got three great panelists to join us today. So I'm going to introduce them, and hopefully they'll turn their cameras on as I do that. First of all, we've got Cyril Poix, who is the Chief Procurement Officer for BT. So he's very much from the telecoms sector and has been for a number of years before he joined BT. So welcome to you, Cyril. And I know this, so you've been using technology quite a lot within the response and the work you've done within BT. So we're going to be really interesting to hear from you on that. So welcome to you.
Thank you.
We have Evan Sutherland, who is the UK Procurement and Supply Chain Director for Balfour BT. So that's the construction sector. I know that's been where you've worked for a long period of time, Evan. So it's going to be interesting to get your perspective of the use of technology within that sector as well. So welcome to you.
Thanks, Duncan.
And then we've got Professor Danny Samson. He's joining us from Melbourne, which must be, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning now.
Yeah, midnight.
So it's midnight. So I'm delighted that you managed to stay awake and join us for this, and really do appreciate you putting the effort into joining us. Danny comes from the University of Melbourne, and he's been doing quite a bit of research with CIPS into the use of technologies and the way that that's being used as we go forward. So it's great that we've got Danny here to be able to share his insights and his thoughts about what the best use of technology can be based on some of the research that's been done. So welcome to the three of you. I'm sure all the participants know by now that there's a Q&A button. If you've got questions to ask, please add them there. We will try and make some time at the end to answer some of the questions. Recognise that we only have half an hour, so it's unlikely we can cover them all. But if you do have questions based on what you've heard, please raise them, and we'll see if we can cover them off as we go through. So maybe, Danny, I'm going to sort of start with you, because I know risk mitigation has really come to the fore now as through the pandemic, and all the discussions we've had over the last couple of days within the conference have focused on that. But what do you think when you look at technology and the way that that can help to do risk mitigation? What do you think? What's your thoughts? What's your insights in there that you could share with us?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that I believe that risk is best considered as a multifaceted thing. So if we start by separating it out into technical risk, and any new technology indeed has technical uncertainty, that's what I mean by risk associated with it, as well as business risk. Even if it works technically, it may not reach its business goals. There are many different aspects of risk. And I'm actually very excited. The research we've been doing with CIPS shows that many CIPS members have been investing in Industry 4.0 technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, and a range of those that I'm sure many of you have been thinking about discussing, and about a quarter of CIPS people that we surveyed, very roughly, either have been or have intentions to soon be investing in those sorts of technologies. And whilst they have high potential, they need to be considered in terms of risk and return. So I'd start by saying, firstly, we need to think high level and fit the technology strategy to the business strategy. What's the business purpose? And I'm sure we'll hear from our other participants about their business experiences and the business frame of that. Then I think the next thing is to think about whether you want to be on the leading edge or you want to be a fast follower, because the risk and return profile of being on the leading edge is very different to being a follower and waiting for somebody else to take some of that risk, so to speak, whether it's pandemic related risk, which I'll call special purpose risk, or the more standard approach. And back many years ago when I worked for ICI, we used to be sometimes just a little bit too close to what we call the bleeding edge. And sometimes we called it the technology for the toy train syndrome. So the research shows that about 1/4 of technology projects never deliver, pandemic or non-pandemic. They never get finished and they never deliver. About another 1/4 get delivered, but late and not up to performance. And only about the top quartile actually fully deliver. So all the rest don't deliver, and therefore I would argue by definition there's been some risk involved. Well, what I see, just to complete this sort of introductory statement, is that organisations are increasingly integrating their cost and benefit analysis with the risk analysis. I call it a cost benefit risk analysis, rather than use the old term of just a rate of return or a cost benefit analysis. Integrating the riskiness into the cost benefit equation, if you like.
And that's quite a change, though, Danny, isn't it, in terms of behaviours almost, and the way that people would approach an investment into technology. And maybe just open that up, sort of, Evan or Cyril. I mean, this focus on technology and using it to manage or mitigate risk. I mean, what's been your experiences in your own organisations of doing that?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Duncan, and Danny, and interestingly enough as well. So as you said, so we're not doing risk management in pure isolation, in the sense that we have as well our new digital dynamic risk management platform, as we call it, is connected as well to our tool, which is enabling us to do the category management. So every category manager can go to their category management tool and see at the same time, so the risk management being fed directly from the risk management tool that we have. But beyond that as well, and due to the pandemic, we were having a very centralized model, and what we pivoted to is a much more decentralized, and we switched. It's interesting that Danny was mentioning that a lot of technological projects are not going through very well. So we very quickly switched from something which was centralized, heavily manual, with a lot of manual processing, to something which is digital. And I've got basically the app, which is on my mobile phone, so I can see all my supply chain, at least the first tier of my supply chain right now, real time. And as I'm joining the EXCO meeting every week on the COVID and explaining so where we stand and what are the risks for our business, it's better to have that than actually and being able to almost like answer on the fly, rather than saying, so I will take the point and I will come back to you. So we, during this pandemic, so we pivoted really quickly to this new kind of solution. And furthermore, it's not something, as I said, which is done in isolation. So it's connected with our platform that we're using as well, digital platform that we are using for the category management. But on top of that, it's just the beginning. And when I'm saying it's just the beginning, it's because we have the BT Procurement Garage, and we're working with a lot of startups in the world. And especially we have a focus on the risk. So this platform that I was just showing, so we've got a startup with whom we're working on the cyber risk. So we can add to this platform the cyber risk. We have another one, which is, that you have your tier 1, but you need to know, you see all the tiers in your supply chain. So which is doing a discovery of your tiers, various tiers on your supply chain, and they can do that even in Chinese. So very interesting. So we've been able to test that. And we've got another one which is doing as well some political risk that we're adding to the platform as well. So it's really an ecosystem, and it's very dynamic. So that's the reason why we call it dynamic risk management system. So enabling us to have all the risk in near real time. I would say, I will not say real time, but near real time. Being able to enable us to add additional risks that we want to monitor to the same platform, and tying that to our category management as well, digital platform that we are using. So Danny was mentioning, for example, the costs and the cost benefit and all the impact obviously of all of that. So we are capable of looking at that in a holistic fashion. So that's and we have been able to do that very, very quickly. And as I said as well, so I'm quite keen because we're using obviously, so being BT, so we're using phones all the day to have pretty much everything as well on our cell phone. So that's something which is very good. And we will equip as well our salespeople with this platform because when they are meeting our customers, especially the CPOs of our customers, so they will be able to showcase how we are managing our own risk in our own supply chain.
I mean, that to me, Cyril, sounds very much. I don't know, Danny, whether you class that as a leading edge or bleeding edge, but certainly, if I look at what other organisations have been doing, I mean, both the pace of what you've got there, but also the visibility of the supply chain, I think is quite unusual from what I would see across other sectors, and what I've seen from other people in terms of what they're trying to do. So obviously, the speed at which you develop that is fascinating.
May I just comment? It sounds very much to me like it's leading edge, but I think the proof is in the pudding. And it sounds great, but I'd ask Cyril, have you got a way of assessing the nature of the improvement in your category managers' decisions that they make when they're armed with this integrated cost-benefit risk? Because that's where you'll get the benefit, isn't it? Is that they will end up making better decisions?
So as I said, so we just moved to this platform slightly more than a month ago, and we've got a category hackathon which will be done at the end of the month of November, where we will see if they have the first benefit. Because I'm reviewing all the categories. So we've got a fiscal year which is in the UK up to end of March. So we are preparing ourselves for the next year, and we've got a category hackathon. So the tool that I was mentioning, category management with the risk, it's something that we will review end of November. And just to have a very concrete example already of the first benefit of this platform, our CEO received yesterday from the chairman of a very extremely well-known company in the IT system a notification of them spinning off one of their business units. And actually, so with our platform, so the category manager was able to spot that a day before. So that's very interesting to see that we are already ahead of our own CEO when he's receiving from the chairman of this company, so the information. That's concrete stuff, but you're right. The proof is in the pudding, but very impatient actually to see what our category manager will come with end of November during this category hackathon, which is our annual review of auto category.
And I think it's also interesting, as you say there, that you're supporting your salespeople, you're supporting the business to almost like demonstrate that you've got this under control, and you're sort of, basically what's going on through your supply chain, and confidence from a business continuity perspective that will take place, which is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe if I may add just briefly to that, Duncan, as well. So what we told our salespeople is that we are offering our customer to connect their platform with our platform, so that we can have a view, and we're asking as well our supplier to connect to our platform. So at least we can have the various tiers of the supply chain connected together.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, Evan, maybe bringing you in here. I mean, from what you just heard there, and looking at it from a Balfour Beatty perspective, I mean, how have you been using technology sort of to focus on risk?
Yeah, so thanks, Duncan. So I mean, at Balfour Beatty, you won't be surprised to know that kind of the supply chain is our core business. It is everything we do. If we don't have a supply chain, we don't have a business. We self-deliver very little. And on one hand, we are the strongest in the market with the balance sheet, but on the other hand, we are in a very kind of very risky market, and we know with what's going on. So what we've done is we've heavily invested in technology within our space. And if I look at kind of the cradle to grave process of any order from the start to finally paying the subcontractor, every single aspect is automated now. So in terms of we have a database online that's taken us around 2 years to build using a well-known system, whereby we can see the current scoring of any subcontractor in our system, the financial viability of them, how many orders we have, how many packages they have, how many they've been successful with. To Cyril's point, any media related or any communications that come out, and this can be made available to anyone in our business. And this is so powerful. On the back of that, we obviously have the ability to paying our suppliers, and our subcontractors is paramount, you know, and the risk for us is cash flow. Everything in this sector that's the biggest risk. So the ability now to automate every single invoice through the use of an well-known e-invoicing system and the embracing of technology, you know, we're at a kind of 92% straight through processing on all of our catalogue items. We're on a kind of 94% payment on time. Now that's pretty powerful stuff, given where, now it's not perfect, make no bones, we want to be at 100, let's be clear. But to be at that in the market we're in, you know, is exceptionally powerful. And technology has enabled us to do this and reduce the risk, and reduce the risk for our subcontractors in terms of cash flow, the ability to be paid on time. And then the final piece it gives us is transparency, all those things I talked about. You know, every single package of work in Balfour Beatty has to go out on the e-procurement platform. There is no more phone calls, emails, everything is visible. So every single package works. If you're a customer and you'd like to see how we tendered a package on the M4, we can show that because everything is now on an e-procurement platform, completely visible and transparent, reduces the risk. We ensure that people are tendering properly, asking the right questions, making the right decisions, and we've got full visibility of who we're awarding work to.
And as you say, in the construction sector particularly,
yeah.
That sort of visibility, transparency, and the focus on payment is, again, I'd say something similar about what he was doing. I mean, it's very unusual that you've had that focus and that there is that sort of commitment, if you like, for the business that actually, you know, that's how you will operate. It was a 2 to 3 year journey plan to where we wanted to get to where we started, where we got to, and how we get there. And it's been a long journey to get where we are now. Yeah. And I suppose as you look forward, I mean, you know, Cyril, you talked about the fact that you've got this app set up, you've got the information there. When you're starting to look at business continuity planning going forward, I mean, I think you described the fact you're going through your category strategies now. That'll be looking at what the future looks like as you go into 2021 and beyond. What's next for you in terms of using technology on business continuity planning to sort of keep the whole business running in the way that it needs to run?
So yeah, on the business continuity plan, as I said, so we are with all what we are currently doing, so we'll be able to, even though so far we've been, so meaning that during all the course of COVID, so we produce 2 times a week, basically a report to the EXCO, and I was attending twice a week as well. So the EXCO meeting with clear, very simple list of people which were at risk, for which we took some immediate measure, and especially payment term was mentioning just before, so we helped them on their cash flow because we had to help them to go through the crisis. So what we have done manually during the first part of the year, during this first part of the crisis, we are trying to automatize that, as I said as well. So with this category hackathon, so we'll be able to have more robust continuity plan, and that's something that we will review category by category. The interesting piece, I would say, or the interesting output of this crisis is basically the fact that probably before risk management was something which was a bit, somewhere in the cloud or nebulous or something like that, and that now it's much more tangible to our community, to our category manager as well. They are extremely, so they've seen that firsthand, so they understood firsthand. So what does it mean? And it's interesting because I remember back in early Jan, actually, so I sent to all my direct report an email and saying, so I would like to see your plan because this COVID stuff seems to be a big stuff. Not very easy for them to come with a plan, and then so we had a few weeks to suffer. And then after that, we came out with something which was really meaningful and highly appreciated within the company. So I believe that we have learned from that, and what we will do with all those tools. So it's working more deeply into that, and as I said as well, so being able to react more quickly as well. So that will be the big focus, obviously, of this category hackathon that we have in the months. Beyond obviously all the strategy on the sourcing, but as well the continuity plan. So what does it mean? What kind of contingency plan as well we have? Having said that, and I mentioned something about the discovering, so the various tiers of your supply chain. So that's something which is still at stake for us, and like maybe others, maybe. It's obviously when you are tracking, for example, a company which is producing a product which is critical for your business, but they are completely fabless, and you are tracking them in Germany where the headquarters is, it's absolutely useless. So that's the reason why we've got this startup, which is a spin-off from or seed from the Cambridge University. And we are working with them to try to understand where are the various tiers of our supply chain. So obviously right now it's much more in this frame of the COVID, but it's something that we will use obviously forced labor, all these kind of aspects as well. So a better understanding where are the supplier of our supplier. That's what we will do, which will enable us to have proper contingency plan and business continuity plan, because as I said, so if I'm tracking even with a beautiful tool like the one that I was mentioning, so the company which is headquartered in Germany, but there's nothing which is manufactured there. So for sure the financial will be there, but the rest I will miss a large part of the risk.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Cyril. And Danny, maybe bringing you in there. I mean, you at the beginning you talked about, all this technology that people could use. And you mentioned AI, machine learning, blockchain, and others as you go through. I mean, just listening to Cyril there, I mean, what do you see from your perspective and the research you've done about where technology will play a greater role, or what types of technology maybe would play a role within that focus on business continuity planning?
Yes. Well, what I see is that we need to think about the context of the technology. Technology can't be an island in the organisation. So when I was listening to those impressive numbers that you came up with, Evan, of being in the 90s, the 90% and on your way to 100 in those respects, I was wondering, and I'll answer by saying, is it the case that we have to get the rest of the procurement and supply chain into excellent shape in a process sense to get the returns on the technology investment? And a couple of examples that I've been involved with in, for example, in processing centres, major global company processing centres, have been to say, let's achieve standardisation first before we go for that. And let's achieve lean. Let's use the principles of lean. Let's use standardisation. Some of those wonderful operations management and supply chain management approaches first, in order to then get the benefits from the automation. And I'm wondering, Evan, if you went about things something like that, or do you think you could have automated something without having achieved firstly what I call the operations management excellence piece?
Yeah, you're spot on. And it links to something I was going to talk. I mean, I think I was very fortunate, Danny, that as an organisation, we were going for a cultural change in terms of from the top down, from our CEO. It was there. So you join it, and something that there was a general transformation within the AP and finance community around how we were working, and as I say, looking at kind of leaner, standardizing how we operate, one way of working. So the best example I can probably give is when I joined Balfour Beatty, there were 4 different ERP systems. There's now 1.
There we go. Yep.
And I think your point's spot on, what you say is get the basics first, standardize first, don't try and boil the ocean, and then it's building the foundations and then stepping on. And you're exactly right what you're saying. That's probably the best example I could give. And that's
a beautiful example.
Yeah, it's down to our chief executive.
So before you invest in something like artificial intelligence, machine learning algorithms, and so on, get yourself lean, Correct. Get yourself to 1 MRP, and then that simplifies the task. And otherwise, you're putting yourself at grave risk. Otherwise,
spot on.
And I think, and as you look forward, I suppose, and maybe people who are listening to this are sort of going, well, how do I start? How do I get buy-in to invest in these sort of solutions? Because I think, Danny, you touched on it. It's an investment. You've got to make some. Yeah. You've got to have a benefit case in investment. But I mean, Evan, maybe sort of coming to you on that. I mean, it sounds like, at least in Balfour Beatty, you had the buy-in from the top to make some investments that you've been making here. I mean, was it easy to get that support, or
no?
I suppose, does the pandemic help, I suppose, is the question.
I mean, look, we started this before the pandemic. This was something that was kind of part of my plan 2 years ago. And I think, to answer your question, it was really tough. Mainly, we operate at very lean margins. So any investment in anything Balfour Beatty does has to be exceptionally analysed, shall we say, and analysed again, and there's very, very, very tough demands and ROIs from our CFO. It's just as simple as that. I think the two areas that I'd say to give anyone some advice on how we saw benefit, how success and we got buy-in was twofold. One, I think really don't underestimate the need to have the right people. Technology is one thing, but if you don't have the right people, if I start with my procurement function, you're wasted. You can have the best system in the world, but if I'll give you an example. Every single contract in Balfour Beatty now uses DocuSign, electronic contracting. See, probably straightforward to someone like Cyril, because I would expect telecoms to be ahead of construction maybe, but that's a big jump for Balfour Beatty, and I don't believe other construction companies are where we are at 100%. It's very hard for me to get buy-in if I have people who are skeptical on technology, who aren't open-minded, who don't want change, who want to see a contract, who like signing contracts. So I think don't underestimate the need to have the right individuals is what I'd say first. And they don't have to be technology experts. They have to be people who are happy to embrace change and happy to be open-minded and happy to look at something different, think outside the box. That's the first thing we did at Balfour Beatty. The second thing is we focused on what I call quick wins, things that would make a difference very quickly to build the buy-in. So the obvious thing for us at Balfour Beatty was obviously catalogues. We have 15 catalogues across the company now. Any stationery, PPE, building materials, M&E, and we spend millions and millions. All goes through an Amazon-like catalogue. You have an app on your phone when you join the company. It'll come up as a Balfour Beatty app along with your Outlook and everything else. And when you need to place an order for a pair of boots, you do so as if you were at home. Now, there's immediate quick wins on catalogues. We know that if you do it right, based on the straight-through processing, the automation, the cost savings for using the right catalogue and the right supplier at the right price. You immediately can show through finance the obvious benefits. That immediately gets my chief executive, my CFO and MD bought in. There starts to be an appetite for more. Then you start to share the world of supplier management. How do we start scoring all our suppliers? How do we start looking at any procurement system so we can tender? And we started like that. And I think it's, again, to Danny's point, we didn't try and boil the ocean. We didn't try and do everything. We tried to start standardizing, doing it slowly, showing some wins, and you build the momentum. And as I say, it's taken probably 18 months, 2 years. But we're there now, and we're in a place where, I'll give you the best stat I could probably give you is at Balfour Beatty, 18 months ago, we spent around just over £7.5 million on purchasing cards, so credit cards, one for a better word, on items I've just discussed that are now on catalogue, stationery, PPE, IT. The figure that came through to me last week, because it's all automated, was £800 in a week. So times 800 by 52, it's not a lot. And that shows you just as a 96, 97% reduction in spend on P cards that now go through. And all those P cards could be stopped, people not reconciling it, all problems. So it shows how far you can come, but it takes time and you've got to do it slowly.
And I think that probably answers one of the questions that we had, which was around how long does it take to get from 4 MRP systems to 1, was one of the questions that came in from, but I think you sort of just covered that off in your description there of a couple of years of
I mean, yeah, the ERP consolidation is absolutely, I mean, we're very fortunate that IT was a focus, you know, of Leo and the person he brought in, and that was the immediate thing he did. So it was the chief executive's #1 aim. So I think when the chief executive has that as one of his #1 priorities, it puts a better place. But Danny's spot on. You've got to do basics like that. Everyone has to be on the same ERP system. You know, if you're not, you're still divided. You're still siloed. You know, so big driver at the start is consolidation and working, standardising, or working from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And actually, there's another question here. We've got a couple of minutes left here, but and this is probably one. It's going to test your ability. It says, "What is blockchain in simple terms, and how beneficial is its use?" So maybe Danny, you describe blockchain to me in simple terms, and then Cyril, I'm going to come to you and say, and how would you use it effectively? So go on. Let's close that off with this discussion.
In my view, my understanding is that it is a distributed ledger whereby transactions can occur that don't have to be recorded and centralised in an institutional sense. And it requires trust in the system and trust in the counterparties. And then we can have a distributed storage of the records and the contracts in the transaction, which allows you to cut costs and do things faster.
That's brilliant. That's probably the most simple explanation I've ever heard of blockchain. So thank you for that, Danny. And Cyril, I know this is something that you've been looking at as well. I mean,
Yeah.
the application.
Yeah, yeah, Duncan, and then you were spot on. So we've got we are on the onboarding of our suppliers, so we're as well joining an initiative which is using the blockchain technology. And we've got already some of the carrier in the telecom industry which are using it. So as soon as one of my competitor will onboard someone, so it will be done. It will be done through this tool. And as we align our questionnaire, so I can reuse basically all the information that they have collected. Sorry. And then after that, if there's any modification that I have to do, so we can do that. So the supplier can do that as well. And everyone will be exactly on the same page because it will be tracked and we can check at any point of time. So we'll simplify the onboarding process. It will cost us less. It will be faster as well. And it will be all auditable and we can check what has been done. So that's basically one of the clear application of blockchain.
That's brilliant. Thank you. We're out of time, guys. I mean, I think half an hour has flown by. Maybe not for you, Danny, because it's now well past midnight, and I think we need to let you go to bed. So appreciate that. But really do appreciate the insights here. There's been some great examples of how technology is being used from BT and from Balfour Beatty, and Danny, your great insights and the research that we've carried out as well. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time today.
Can I just say, John, to answer your question, yes, it's all electronic and the invoices are consolidated.
Well done. Thank you, Evan. Thanks for looking at that one. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your time today. Thanks everyone for attending and joining this session. I think the next session starts in about 10 minutes. So if you want to hop off on one, you can go to the other. But gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and contributions in this channel.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Great to meet you.